Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Anna.
Okay.
Hi. It's good to
Well, um, welcome everybody to our birthday party. 40 years, and I think that that makes the ICSA a mature body of people. Um, and I want to welcome you. And my name is Jan Martin Bang. I have been associated with the ICSA for quite a lot of years now, and I'm a permaculture and eco-village designer and teacher. Before we start the actual birthday party, I want to point out that the ICSA is a living community of people who are in touch with each other, some virtually constantly, virtually, and some from time to time. We are our own little community. And even though our birth was actually in 1985, we have some similarities to a human being, and that is that the birth of a human being is the result of 9 months of preparations. And I would like to take you back to our conception and talk about the 1970s, because that was a very uh, important period of time for many things that have happened in our world, not least in the world of communities. Now, you can say there are two kinds of networks of communities. There are networks and there are community movements. The kibbutz movement is a movement where each kibbutz isn't actually owned by the kibbutz, it's owned by the movement. And the same is true of things like Camp Hill and the Bruderhof. But there are also networks. So like the Global Eco-Village Network is a network of independent communities. And during the 1970s, there was a lot of thoughts and actions going on around the world with people wanting to create networks of communities. The British Commune movement really started during that time. And it was so small that I remember going to a British Commune movement gathering with 6 people. And when the seventh walked in, somebody jogged my arm and said, "Oh, that's Chris. He lives in a commune, you know." Um, and in the mid 70s, Mordechai Bentov in Israel, who is a character that is worth studying, a very interesting person. He was very interested in communities around the world, and he started writing to them. And when he got answers, he would regularly mimeograph, I think by turning a handle, and then send the answers back to everybody. And this was like an international communes newsletter. And in 1975, in the USA, there was a National Historic Communal Societies Association formed formally by a group of academics. Towards the end of the 70s, in 1979, there was an international communes festival in Scotland with 80 participants. And over the next 5 years, there was a series of international communal festivals and meetings in Denmark, Belgium, Israel. And just as it turned into the 80s, sometime in the early 80s, Yaakov Oved went to America on a trip and met the National Historic Communal Studies Association, who had then changed their name to the Communal Studies Association. And he was inspired so much that he and Dom Pizza arranged the first international. Um, let's see if I can get this one right. I'm trying to get to the next picture here, and it's not working. I'm very sorry about this.
Try the arrow to the right, to the left.
I'm afraid, there's one here. And in 1985, these 5 people, some who are here today, founded the International Communal Studies Association. So it sounds like our birthday was in 1985, but we had actually been thought about and anticipated for a good decade. I think this would be the right place to ask Yaakov, to ask Shlomo to read a message from Yaakov Oved, who really was the prime mover of this association.
Hello, everyone. So that's what Yaakov Oved wrote. This greeting is sent to the participants of the conference of the International Communal Studies Association, marking the 40th anniversary of the association. For me, this greeting is accompanied by memories from those days, 40 years ago, when I was involved in organizing the first international conference for the study of communes, held in Israel. To these memories, I would like to add recollection concerning some of the key participants in this endeavor. My journey toward the association began in the early 1980s. I was in the United States at that time to begin my research on the history of communes, planning to visit communes, historical sites, and archives there. During one of my first visits at a historical Shaker commune site in Massachusetts, I discovered a bulletin of the American Communal Studies Association. It was an announcement about a conference soon to be held in the city of Omaha, Nebraska. Both things surprised me and piqued my curiosity. I was still early in my research career and was unaware of the existence of an American association, nor did I know about the conference, and I was very interested in learning more. I immediately canceled my travel plans for the Eastern US and flew to Omaha, Nebraska, where I attended the conference as an observer. The conference lectures and subsequent discussions were of great interest. A significant observation was the remarkable similarity between the issues debated here and those central to kibbutz research circles. Recognizing this convergence, I believe there would be considerable value in convening a joint meeting for these two communities to facilitate networking and intellectual exchange. Furthermore, the kibbutz movement campus at Efal presented itself as a suitable location, and Yad Banking possesses the institutional capacity to manage the organizational aspects. With this thought and ideas, I approached Professor Donald Pitzer, who led the American Communal Studies Association. To my delight, he instantly grasped the concept value, deemed it an important undertaking, and agreed to bring researchers from his association on board. This collaboration was exactly what I had hoped for. Blustered by Professor Pitzer's commitment, I returned to Israel and met with Yaakov ZEGG, Yad Bankin's director. Presenting the now jointly supported proposal, I received another immediate positive response. Mr. ZEGG recognized the project's significance for Yad Bankin and pledged his cooperation, assigning Ruth Sobol, Secretary of the Overseas Department, to coordinate the conference logistics. Ruth accepted the role enthusiastically and immediately began building connection with key researchers and institutions. She forged an extensive and robust network that, in retrospect, served as a vital bridge bringing international researchers to Israel for the 1985 conference. As the conference date approached and word spread among kibbutz researchers, a young man from kibbutz Gezer, introduced himself and offered to help with the organization. His was our acquaintance, Jan Bang. Jan was born in Norway and raised in England. His background included student activism and involvement with groups that championed communal living as an ideal experience that had drawn him closer to the kibbutz movement. His offer was invaluable to us organizers, as he had strong connection with a significant group of attendees, particularly the younger generation. In the lead up to the event, John served as a crucial liaison, effectively bridging communication between our team and the participants. The conference took place in May 1985, and many attended, among them members of communes who made the effort to come to Israel to participate stood out. Particularly prominent was a group from the Bruderhof who came as a group and took the opportunity to visit kibbutzim. The conference was successful, the discussions were serious, and particularly impressive was a session featuring a veteran of the kibbutz movement alongside a veteran of the Bruderhof. The plenary discussion on the kibbutz, the commune, and the future, chaired by Aharon Yadlin, was one of the most impressive sessions of that conference. The conference concluded with a final session focused on future direction. A strong consensus emerged among participants, including commune researchers, commune members, and kibbutz members, that the valuable interactions and connections established during the event needed to continue. Driving by this sentiment, representatives from various communes in Israel and abroad met during this session. They formally agreed to ensure continuity by establishing an international organization for communal studies, researchers, and holding triennial conferences. Researcher Pearl Bartlett was instrumental drawing on her experience organizing researchers in her own country to propose an effective structure. Her adopted proposal formed the foundation of the International Association, establishing the schedules, operational methods, and the general framework for international activities. This marked the crucial stage of organizing and establishing the International Association. Its continuous operation over the past 14 years, with conferences held regularly every 3 years, serves as a clear proof of its necessity and viability. The association journey from this point onward is a history that deserves to be documented. We all share the hope that this significant endeavor, now 4 decades strong, will continue, and I offer my best wishes to the participants, encouraging them to commit fully to securing the association's future. Thank you all, your friend Yaakov Oved.
Thank you, Shlomo. And Yaakov, I think, is with us today, but I don't think his sound is switched on. So thank you, Yaakov, also very, very much. It's now a good thing to hear from the co-founder, Don Pitzer. And Steve, I think you have a letter from him to read out.
Yes, thanks, Jan. It is wonderful to get to read this message from one of our 2 big elders. It says, "Dear friends, greeting to those of you I have met and those I have not. But all of you can imagine the joy I feel in knowing that the International Communal Studies Association has persevered for 40 years. 40 years ago, I was a younger man with higher hopes and bigger dreams. All of you who work so diligently to make these meetings possible, and all of you who participate so enthusiastically, make my hopes and dreams reality. The ICSA addresses perhaps the most important question that exists. How do we live together? The organization continues to encourage research into past attempts at living together and facilitate sharing from current ones. All conclusions, both positive and negative, offer valuable information for those who attempt to make our world a better place. Jan Beng promised to be my substitute in telling this famous story, but just in case, I must mention it here. In 1983, Yakov and I were strolling along the beach of the Mediterranean at his community of Palmakim. We came upon a large rock just wading a distance into the water. As we climbed up and sat upon it, I sensed that we were making history as we tried to unite scholarly communal efforts around the world. I will conclude with a quote from my memories of the 30th anniversary project. Quote, "If someday you search for Yakov and me, look out to that beach in the great beyond. We will still be keeping the faith, walking arm in arm, seeking how humanity might adopt the most noble, humanitarian, and ecologically sustainable ideals and practices of Earth's kibbutzim and communal societies." Greetings from Don Pitzer.
Thank you. That's a powerful greeting from two powerful rockers who founded this association. I want to move on to say that as we know about human births, they are facilitated by somebody we call a midwife. And we also have a midwife here in the ICSA. And Anton, if you could put Ruth Sobol up on the picture. I want to say that we are blessed with having a Jewish mother, and we all know that Jewish mothers are legendary for their care for the young. And rather than have a message from read out from Ruth, I'm so happy to see you here. And I wanted to ask you if you have some memory you want to share with us from that very first conference 40 years ago.
Well, as I said to you when we were discussing this, that I don't know, I don't have such great memories of anything 40 years ago, but I do remember I was totally shocked when so many people turned up. I really didn't believe that, you know, it would be such a success, the very, very first conference. And for me, it was this whole connection has been something very, very special, even though I didn't meet everybody and I've not met everybody, but somehow we've become friends, even through letters and mails and all sorts of other connections. And I'm very happy that I was able to, you know, to help in this. It meant a great deal to me, even though I don't live on a community and I'm not a member of a kibbutz, but I appreciate the great advantages of being on a community. That's it, Jan, really.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruth. I just wanted to let everybody know that your work has not gone unnoticed, and that in 2010 you were given a Distinguished Service Award from the ICSA. And I was there at that conference when you received that, and I think you totally deserve it. And I want to be able to say thank you, not just for helping to keep the ICSA going by your efforts, but also thank you for being a friend who I have visited regularly, and I treasure our friendship. And it's one of the things that I see is part of the community of the ICSA, is that we establish long-term friendships and we keep them alive. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Jan. Thank everybody. It's lovely to see you. Jan, is it possible to see everybody who's here? Because I can only see a few people. Is that everybody can only see a few people?
if you move your cursor around, you will find that if you put it on the pictures, there's an arrow pointing down at the bottom, and if you
Okay.
press that, you'll see a few more. As far as I can see, we are now 18 people participating. So we can't see them all.
Okay.
But at some point, we will see them all, and then we'll see who's there.
Thank you.
I wanted to go on to Dennis Hardy, who was also at that conference. And he can't be with us today because he now lives in the Seychelles and has only intermittent internet connections. So I'm going to read out something from him. And I do have a feeling for him because he was a researcher in England when I lived in England, and I actually moved to Israel in 1984, and I met Dennis on the plane going to the conference because I went back to England for a visit. So it was always nice to, I always nice to think about him. He writes, I was fortunate to have been at the inaugural meeting in Israel, and I'm grateful now, 40 years on, to offer a brief message on this special occasion. As a member of the ICSA, I have met some wonderful people, each of whom embodied the ideals of the organization. At that first meeting, Yaakov Oved and Don Pitzer were both at the heart of it and remained so for many years to come. And there were always others ready to step in, not least of all another stalwart, Jan Bang, who has kindly offered to read this message. Thank you, Jan. As an organization, ICSA has embodied the values that it espouses, always friendly and supportive, serious in intent, but never without humor, and truly international in its reach. As well as Israel, with its model of kibbutzim to inspire us, I recall gatherings in a variety of seductive settings in Scotland and Germany, Italy and America, all inspirational in different ways. The world was in a mess at the time that ICSA was formed. Nothing changes. And it seemed to us all that a healthy dose of communal values was needed. I've always interpreted community in a wide sense, including not only living together, but also the embedded values of cooperation and caring. The need for this is as urgent now as it was then, if not more so. With so little change for the better in the world at large, it would be easy to say that we have failed in our efforts to spread the word of community. But that is not how I see it. The fact that ICSA is still alive and well is itself evidence that there are people everywhere who believe in its principles, people who really care. Although I have not personally followed a path into communal living, I know that my life has been enriched by visiting some truly inspiring places and by talking to people who have done so. For my own part, I am sending this message from an island in the Indian Ocean, alongside my wife Jane and our 3 dogs. Communities come in all shapes and sizes, and this for us is one way. We both spend a lot of time writing, and I am presently close to completing a book on the prospects of peace in this region, which is by no means as tranquil as it sounds. Thank you for including me in this worldwide gathering. It is always a pleasure as well as a privilege to be part of this lovely network. Enjoy the occasion. Thank you, Dennis, and hopefully you'll be able to see this at some point. And thank you for being part of that founding group. We go on. We have a message from Tim Miller, who joined the ICSA a few years later. And Anton, this is the time we're going to do a magnificent digital organization and show the video.
That's where you need to stop sharing your screen.
Right?
Yeah. Well, let me check that we can. Share some.
Let's have a look here.
I was still kind of new to the whole thing. I think I was aware of it, but I didn't go. And then 3 years later, I was much more involved, and I did go to Israel, to Yad Banken, for the first time I'd ever been to Israel. And so after that, I went to several of them, although not every one, I think. And how did I become president in 2001? This was very much Jacob's deal. Jacob just ran ICSA. I mean, he was ICSA basically, and he just told me it was time for me to be president. And so that was that. So I was for 3 years, and basically had to make the arrangements for the Amana Colonies Conference in '04. So I've had that level of involvement for that long, but I would say not day-to-day deep involvement much. I don't know if I'll ever be able to go to another conference. I'd like to, but we'll see if that works. We have troubles when we travel, so that's part of it. But anyway, it's been an interesting thing, and of course the whole thing of expanding your horizons. The domestic CSA conferences are pretty much Americans, of course. A few others come in sometimes. We have some Germans who come and things like that, but this really expands it. The ICSA truly is international, and it's a real chance to learn about some communal activities that are going elsewhere. Very nice, very eye-opening, and I really have enjoyed that part of it. I wonder where things are going to go from here, especially with the headquarters in Israel. It's not a great time to be looking at where we're going in a way, but anyway, ICSA manages to go on because there are some very dedicated members who keep it all going. It's been that way from the first. It was Jacob and friends for years, but when Jacob reached the point he couldn't travel anymore, then other people stepped in. I was very impressed how people just stepped in and took over and have kept it going very nicely. So that's about it. Okay.
Do you have a favorite conference or favorite memory?
Favorite memory? Well, I don't know. No, not particularly. I mean, I've always enjoyed everything that has happened, with some exceptions maybe. But no, I can't think of a favorite conference. I've really enjoyed getting to know Jacob, and I got to work with him very seriously for several years, and that was great. Also, he kind of opened the door to Yad Banken, and I spent a few days in there. They had a great archive, and I got great information out of it. So things like that have been very handy. But that's, I don't know. I don't know where the future will go. And of course, with an organization that is, I think it's fair to say, well, it was at least dominated by Israelis. They pretty much ran it for a number of years, from the beginning, for a decade or two. You know, just what's going on in the Middle East right now, you wonder where that's all going to go. But so far, people are still carrying on. I noticed I just got a newsletter this week or last week, and so people are still trudging along and making it happen. So good for them. I don't know. Anything else you want to know?
I just remember having a lot of fun with you in various venues over the years. Maybe the cafe bar at Tamara, for example,
Yeah.
is one.
Well, the other half of Tamara is ZEGG in Germany, essentially, and same people back and forth. And that was a great one. I thought I really enjoyed that one. And they had an outdoor bar, and that was kind of where many of us spent our evenings. And that was particularly memorable. Actually, talk about a memorable moment. Two Hutterites came from, I think, I believe a Canadian colony. And it was a senior elder in the colony, and then his niece, I believe it was, a young woman named Dorothy. And she was just fascinated with it. Her whole life had been Hutterite, and just to get to see all of this stuff, she was just entranced with the whole thing. And a whole lot of conference people, especially the men, I have to say, were kind of entranced with her because she was full Hutterite clothing and all, but she was very engaging, lovely person, really. But my favorite moment in all of that, we were having every evening, a bunch of us just sat around the cafe and had a great time.
Right. I think that sounds like the end of the film. Is that right?
And so eventually her uncle came by and said, well, it's time to go back to the hotel now. And she was very unhappy about that, you know. In the Hutterite world, you can hardly complain, but she kind of let it be known that she really would like to stay longer. And so I was there watching the whole thing, so I told him, gosh, I can't remember his name, the uncle, but anyway, Uncle John maybe. But anyway, I told him, well, I would take responsibility. I'd watch her carefully, make sure everything was okay, make sure she got back to the hotel. So he decided that was okay. But it was interesting the next night, no, she wanted to stay later, and no. So that was kind of amusing and a little insight into how Hutterite culture works. But it was a wonderful time.
Right. Thank you, Tim. I'm going to try and get back to that slideshow again and see if that works. That's Tim Miller. Let's see. Okay, that's that. Current top corner, press arrow keys. No, it's very hard to do this. Nope, can't do that. I'm sorry. Sorry, I don't seem to be able to annotate. I'm really sorry. I can't get the next slide for some reason.
There's an arrow at the bottom. Go down a bit. Should appear an arrow. When you push the left arrow, the right arrow, will that move you across?
I'm not being able to do this for some reason. It's not working. I'm really sorry, but I can stop sharing and that's it. We wanted to look at some of the conferences, and just very briefly, some pictures from the conferences. And 1985 was the first conference, and it was mentioned that the Bruderhof people came to that, and there they are in the middle.
We can't see the pictures. Jan, you need to share your screen again.
Oh, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry about this. I can't. Let's go back here now. Try this. Now let's see. I have this one here. Share. Okay. I still can't. I cannot share I can't move the pictures for some reason.
There's an arrow there. Can you see the arrow down at the bottom, the left of this picture?
This one here.
The other way. Yeah.
Sorry. It was obscured by my bar, the toolbar. I got it now. I see. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, this was the first conference, and that was recorded in this book called Communal Life. And it was an amazingly large conference, 100 participants, 100 presenters, and about 200 participants. Let's see if I can, yes. Then there were a couple of conferences that I wasn't able to go to. 1988 in New Lanark, and that was a place that was founded originally by Robert Owen 200 years ago, over 200 years ago now, and is now a conference center for communal studies. And there was the conference we held there. In 1991 at Elizabethtown. And here again, you can see the influence of the historical communal association. This was looking at the Anabaptist and Pietist, the Shakers, and so on, that were historical communities. As we go into the 90s, there was a conference at New Harmony, which again is an historical site, also associated with Robert Owen. And that is also a place where conferences are held about communes and communal living. In 1995, it was back at Yad Tabenkin. And for those of you who can see this, at the bottom right, there's a picture. There's a lady in a black and white dress. That is Ruth Kark, who has been a participant at many of our conferences. And I just want to congratulate her from the ICSA. She got the very prestigious Israel Prize quite recently. And so even though she may not be with us here today, I think it's good that we record our congratulations to her. The guy in the jeans is actually me when I was young and good looking. And you see there a classic Hutterite or Bruderhof lady talking to me, and clearly I'm having fun talking to her.
That looks like Pearl also in the picture, just in the top right picture.
Pearl is, yes,
Writing.
she's sitting there writing, taking assiduous notes, and she would be here today, but she is on a family journey where they have very intermittent, if not no internet connection at all. But I've been in touch with her. We've had many meetings over the last few months to try and put this together. Thank you for that. In 1998, we had our last conference at a university, which was the Amsterdam University. And that conference was also recorded in a book of papers by Saskia Poldevart, who organized the conference. And she unfortunately died a few years later, and we still miss her. And that was the last time that we had a conference paper published in book form. And it hasn't been published, our presenters haven't been published since then, but we are looking into publishing again, and we actually have a team of people put together by Amy Hart who are looking into this. And we've been talking about it now for about a year, and hopefully many things that get talked about, some of them get done too. So we're hoping for that.
Hey, Jan.
Yes.
Actually, in 2013 in Findhorn, we did put out a book of conference proceedings.
Online or in?
No, it was a physical copy.
So next time I go to Findhorn, I'm going to get myself a copy, because I didn't have that. Thank you for that. And yeah, if anybody else can remember things like that, I didn't catch everything that happened over the last 40 years, but some of them. ZEGG was really our breakthrough in these conferences. And I wondered if, Bill, if you're here, if Anton can put you at the top of the list, you could say a few words about ZEGG, because that really was a major change in the ICSA's development.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Am I coming through? Okay. Well, I got, what's the word? Drummed into being president when we were in Amsterdam. And one of the things you'll all realize is when Yaakov Oved says something, you tend to end up doing it. And Yaakov took me aside and he bought me a beer somewhere. And he said, I want you to be the next president. I said, don't be ridiculous, you know. I can't do that. But anyway, I did. And two people were at the Amsterdam conference from ZEGG. And I became quite enamored with them and what they were doing and everything. And so at the meeting of the executive or the council, at the end of being in Amsterdam, I suggested we might consider going to ZEGG, and there wasn't a great deal of support for that. But I went to ZEGG and I became even more impressed with what they're doing and their capacity to host a large conference like us. They had a fair bit of accommodation. They had a very serious approach to communal living. At the same time, they were a lot of fun. They were doing a lot of very dramatic things that sometimes were called free love, but it wasn't really free love at all. It was quite different. And I had to spend quite a bit of time in those 3 years at ZEGG trying to work things out, because some of the people at ZEGG weren't real sure about having all these academics from around the world there either. But we managed to get it together in 2001, and we had a fantastic response, an amazing conference, and I still have connection with ZEGG people. They're still doing very well with some changes. And it really worked, and it showed that we are not just an academic group, but we're also a group that involves participants. And I think that was a wonderful time. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Bill. I think you're right. It really did get us a new direction, and has been very, very important for us. Now I'm going to try and see if I can do this again. No, that's the wrong way. There it is. Now I can do it. That was the ZEGG meeting. And 2004 was when Tim Miller organized the conference in Amana, which again had this flair of looking at the past, at communities of the past. And it occurred to me there that communities of the past can still influence the future, even though they officially have disbanded. The Amana Heritage Museum still contains much of the stuff from them. And I was very, very inspired there. And for some reason, I was voted to become, or I was asked to join the board. And I couldn't figure out why, because I have really no academic qualifications that would help with that. But I joined the board at that point. And that was a very good conference. And the next conference was at Damanhur, which is one of the very biggest intentional communities of many, many people. They're so big, they have their own fire brigade, and they in fact dominate the local municipality. So it's always good to have somebody to put the fires out. The next conference after that was back in Israel at Yezreel College. And Michal, do you have a memory from that conference that you'd like to share with us?
I don't have any memories from that time. I just remember that we prepared then the card for Ruth, the appreciation card for Ruth. And I remembered that it was the first time that we had, you managed it. It's a talk of, it's a storytelling. So it was the first time there was a storytelling. We sat together and people were telling their story, and we understood how important it was to tell the stories of the communities, which they tell us much more than just research or something like that.
Thank you, Michal. Thank you. I do remember that session, and that was with Anton, and I'm sure Anton will have something to say about that in a minute.
Yes.
For me, that conference actually, the ICSA had a crisis there because there was nobody to take on being president after Michal. And they asked me, and I said, well, that's ridiculous. I barely have a degree, I don't know anything about this. And in the end, I got so many emails from people saying, can you do this? Because we need somebody to do it. And so I have the honor of being the shortest serving president of the ICSA because I changed my title from president to chair. Actually, I suggested chairman, and Pearl held me up very quickly with an email saying, you can't be a chairman, you've got to be a chair. And so I was only president for maybe a week or two, but I was the first chair, so that was nice for me. And if we, let's see if we can find this. If we go on to Findhorn, I think that this was also a very big conference. This was a conference where we were at one of the largest and most influential intentional communities of the modern era, Findhorn, which has a connection with many, many communities around the world. And we also made a very strong connection with the Global Eco-Village Network, which has its center there. And Graham, I think you are with us somewhere here.
Yeah, finally I arrived. Sorry, I'm an hour late, actually hour and a half late because I got the times mixed up. Can you believe that?
Okay.
Possible.
Would you like to say something for us, just to say hi?
Well, just to say hi, and it's an honor to be here. I'm very sad that I missed the first part of the meeting, but I'll be watching the recording with interest. About this conference, I've been a member of ICSA for quite some time and been to conferences beforehand, and I proposed, I wasn't working in the conference office in Findhorn, but I proposed that we bring the ICSA conference to Findhorn, which meant that I then attended this conference in Israel to pitch it, and was accepted. And so we held the conference here. I worked with Jan pretty closely. We kind of co-held it, I guess. And as you say, it was a very large conference. I think 350 participants, maybe 200 odd ICSA members. I can't remember exactly. The one memory that sticks in my mind is not the most palatable one, and that was when we were approached by Palestinian sympathizers from Edinburgh wanting to make some protest or make a point, or I don't know exactly, agitate in some way or other. And it was quite a tense situation for some 2 or 3 hours, I can't remember. And fortunately, Robin, who was kind of chairing the event, Robin Alfred, who's a good friend, he's a Jewish lad who lives on campus here. Some of you may know him, he's quite well known. And he was able to turn them around, send them away again, which was a great relief to all of us. That's the one memory I have that's still quite strong.
Thank you, Graham. I have good memories of working with you also. I wondered if we go on to the next conference. Anton, would you like to say something about Tamira?
That's the one conference that I've missed since 2007, so probably not me.
Ah, okay. So I can say a couple of words. That was perhaps the smallest conference, I think, after the intense excitement of Findhorn. I think we were something like 40 or 50 participants there. But it was very, very interesting. It's an interesting place. And even though we were small, it was a worthwhile conference. Let's go on to Hudson. Dan, are you with us there? I think you should be there somewhere. I think it's appropriate that you say something about the conference at Hudson.
Absolutely, I'm here. Hi, everybody. Jan, could you just clarify for me? Am I going to be asked to speak at greater length about Hudson tomorrow on Thursday?
Yes, indeed. We
Okay.
yes.
Well, I will just say very briefly that Hudson is shorthand for Camp Hill Hudson, Camp Hill Triform, Camp Hill Copic, and Camp Hill Ghent for Camp Hill intentional communities in the Hudson River Valley of New York State in the United States that together hosted both ICSA and the Camp Hill Studies Network for a joint conference. And this was another one of our big ones with about 300 people in attendance.
Right. Thank you. If we go on to the one at Odonikon, I wonder if, Anton, you would say something about this, because this was groundbreaking in terms of the technology that we were using.
Yeah, I can just say that, yeah, it was the first time that we did a hybrid conference. And it was a technological breakthrough for us. It was also continuing our cooperation and our connection with Camp Hill or with Anthroposophy, and we had Ole, who was absolutely fantastic, and Eleanor putting things together, and obviously Dan holding things together. Great pre-post conference tours as well to visit communities in the area. Another very successful conference for us.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Anton. If we go on to our last conference just a year and a half ago, it was our very first Zoom conference. And again, Anton, do you think you could say a few words about this? Because, or maybe Steve.
I've prepared something. I'd love to say a few words. Steve afterwards, if he wants to.
Good.
They say middle age starts at 40, so it's a good thing. At ICSA, we embraced a brand new technological challenge while we were still 39 years old. Yeah, I'm talking about our very first virtual international conference held in January 2024, and what a breakthrough it was. For the first time in ICSA's history, we didn't wait 3 years for another in-person gathering. Instead, we took to Zoom and brought the global community together across borders, time zones, and Wi-Fi signals. It was a bold experiment. 14 months of planning, nearly 200 people registered from 27 different countries, and somehow it all came together. Over 3 packed days, we hosted 32 sessions, 26 papers, 13 workshops, 5 panels, 3 featured books. And let's not forget the singing, poetry, and moments of spontaneous joy that truly reminded us this is more than a conference, it's a community. There was something magical about starting and ending each day together, seeing familiar faces and welcoming many new ones, some of whom were participating in ICSA for the first time. We created an experience that didn't feel like a substitute for an in-person event. It felt like something real, something alive, something ours. A huge thank you to the organizing team, Jan, Dan, Amsale, Deborah, Betsy, Stephen, and Amy, and to our amazing partners at Yad Benkin and its director, Paz, for steadfast support. One participant summed it up best, and I want to share their feedback because it says it all. Quote, Excellent conference in form and content. I haven't been able to participate in ICSA events in recent years, partly due to a desire to reduce my carbon footprint. I also realize that most virtual conferences are pale imitations of the real thing. This one, however, was excellent. Everything went smoothly and there was a good mix of presentation types and topics. Well done. This conference proved that we can build community across distances. And when we do, we bring new energy to our mission of building communities for global social change. So here's the 24 virtual conference, the first of its kind, but certainly not the last. And here's to ICSA at 40. May we keep innovating, keep connecting, and keep growing as one inspiring global family. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Anton. I'm going to stop sharing right now and try and get this one out. No, that's not the one. That's it. Now we're back, everybody. Here, I see we have 23 participants, so that's really great. And thank you all for contributing various things to this. One of the things that really holds us together is our interest in communities. But another thing that holds us together is that many of us have been changed by being part of ICSA. It has given us something in our lives. And so I wanted to open the discussion up a little bit for people to be able to share how ICSA has changed their lives. And so I'm going to open it up and ask Deborah if you could say a few words about how ICSA has changed your life.
Sure, I'd be glad to. I started going to ICSA conferences back in 1991. I've been to 8 conferences in 5 different countries, and it's just enriched my life in remarkable ways, personally and academically. I think the thing I remember the most about ICSA conferences are the amazing post-conference tours. I know in 1991, we took a tour of a couple of Bruderhofs. I can remember being at dinner at New Meadow Run and just, marveling at being at this Bruderhof. And, it's just so fascinating to be at a living community, and you learn so much from doing that. And also, one of the things I've loved about ICSA is it's very family friendly. And in 2004, I brought my 6-year-old son with me to the conference, and we went on the post-conference tour together. And I can remember being in a van full of mostly Israelis, and they were so kind to my son. Here he was, 6 years old, going on this tour. And we went to Nauvoo and Dancing Rabbit, and it was just it was a wonderful experience to share with him, as a child. We did some amazing tours at Torre Superiore when we were in Italy, at those communities in Denmark that we visited in 2022 were just, it was a remarkable opportunity. I also felt that a couple of the pre-conference immersive experiences were amazing. Like at Findhorn, we did a pre-conference immersive experience, and I know our little group really bonded together, and we created friendships that have lasted to the present day. The same thing was true in Tamara. We had a little pre-conference immersive experience where the group got to bond in really nice ways while we did community chores, working in the garden and things like that I think really brought us together as a group and helped create community. So those are the things I remember the most. I I think that's about it. Jan?
Okay, thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much. I really reiterate the thing about bonding. I remember you and Anton and we spent a day traveling south through Scotland after the Findhorn, and I treasure that day that we really did have a good time talking mostly about the conference. It was great. I wonder, Michal, you have been part of this for a long, long time. I'm hoping you're still here somewhere. Yes, they are. Would you like to say something about how the ICSA has changed your life? What you
I
can...
think one of I don't know if it changed it, but I think one of the most important things of ICSA is the aggregation of people from multifaceted collective intentional communities that try to learn from the variegated experiences of each other. I mean, it is a space where there's no fear to express oneself, even if it is against the norms of those around us. One of the things that I realized, and also in my research, but also with talking to people, is that one of the things that are so important is the participation in decision-making of people. And in different communities, there are different types of participation. But if it is agreed upon in the community, people saw it as just, people saw it as right. But if it was not going past, it did not. I know one of the things that we were doing now, Shlomo and myself, is we have been editing a book about conflict in intentional communities. And it is very interesting to see how the practitioners have managed to put on different types of methods within the communities to adapt to their needs. And that was really interesting. And I think we can, the issue of joining together both the grassroots, the people that live in the communities, that experience it, with the academy, I think it's from my point of view, it's very important. I don't know how it is, how you think about it. So that's more or less what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Michal. Thank you. And thank you for, a long friendship. We've met in so many places.
I have to say also that the ICSA logo was made in our conference. See behind Anton, you can see it. And I think that's what we felt about it, that it is a combination of different types of people and of being surrounded by each other and feeling the community, how important it is, the togetherness, the community, the mutual aid, and so on. I felt it very much, the issue of mutual aid. I felt it in the last happenings in Israel, when afterwards I interviewed many people, and they said, how is it that one kibbutz, a community, have managed to take into it 300, 400 people of another community when they themselves were only 1,000 people. And they took care of them and they looked after them and so on. So I don't say it went always without conflicts and so on, but they knew how to set it up and how to manage to finish with a very good and be very helpful to each other. And I think that's why ICSA is so important, really.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Dan, you are actually, I think, the last formal chair of the ICSA, because after the conference that you organized at Hudson, we became a team, but not formally. So I wondered, as the last chair of ICSA, if you had some words to say about how it's changed your life.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jan. And it's very funny that you highlight that. It was interesting to me to hear people testify about how persuasive Yaakov was when he asked other people to step into the role of president or chair. And clearly, I was the broken link when it came to that. I was not able to persuade anyone, and so we moved to this new form. But I'd like to highlight two real gifts that I've received from ICSA. First, this really is one of the most sustaining international communities that I've been part of. All of you on this call are among the people in other parts of the world that I hear from most regularly, that I'm able to have your faces in my mind, when I read a headline about another part of the world. I haven't had many connections like this, partly because I'm a cheapskate who doesn't like to spend lots of money on airfare, and partly because of climate concerns that so many of us have regarding travel. But what I think has been really special about ICSA is that when we are together in person, we're really together, you know, sometimes sleeping dormitory style, sometimes camping out, often, you know, putting our meals together, often getting on a bus and going from one place to another and processing the decision. And that has really enabled us, I think, to make the transition to the Zoom age with a lot of grace. That the reason our Zoom gatherings can be very fulfilling is because we have such deeply embodied memories of one another when we come together in this way. The other gift of ICSA that has really inspired me and changed, I think, the way I organize every conference that I'm involved in is that this is a community where people who make our living as academics and people who make their lives doing the things that the academics are writing about come together on a basis of equality, a real willingness to learn from one another, to honor the particular vantage points that each of us brings. You know, I teach at a university that has a reputation for not being that way, a university that has a reputation for being an ivory tower of privilege. And that has made us vulnerable. And I've been trying to nudge my university towards the same kind of open-hearted mutual spirit that characterizes ICSA. And I'm just very grateful to all of you for giving me guidance along that path.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dan. I have a few more people I want to ask, but the people who I'm not asking right now, if you have anything to share, jot it down because we're going to open up for a general discussion in a few minutes. But Steve, you have been centrally engaged in the last few years with organizing. I wondered if you have anything to say about how it's changed your lives.
Yeah, thanks, Jan. It's been so meaningful for Amy and me since we first started attending, and Finnhorn have been active since. We're going to talk more about this in 2 days as we consider the future of ICSA and the future of communal studies. But one part that I would bring out is at this point in my career, I've learned that meetings are often absolutely useless and painful part of life, with the one exception of our ICSA planning meetings, which is the only meetings really I attend anymore and look forward to because they are so much fun. You know, when we get together, even if Anton's in Israeli time, Bill is up in the middle of the night, Saleh, it's dark until you know, noon, or whatever the situation is. It is a truly global encounter. And you know, unlike so many meetings we all attend, they're actually super fun and interesting, even if they are on Zoom. And it has allowed us to get to visit friends around the world and have people to come visit us in California. So I think that community of the planning groups have been a really important part of developing our friendships. And last summer we were able to visit both Jan and Amsale in Norway. And the thought of having two good friends in Norway is something we wouldn't have had without ICSA. So a pitch for all those to get involved, because it's actually fun planning these events, and you end up with friends and connections throughout the world.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's great to see you both again. One thing we haven't mentioned so far is that we have been running a series of we haven't mentioned it very much, a series of webinars for the last year or so. So I wondered, Iris, if I think you're out there somewhere, would you like to say a little bit about how you got involved in ICSA and these webinars and how it's changed your life?
Mm, thank you, Jan. I'm just having lunch, so excuse me. But I hope maybe my camera is not. Ah, it's this camera. Okay, yeah, viewers, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, but so I've changed my computer on Linux 2 days ago, so it's not everything is working so far. Yeah, so we started with this series of webinars. I guess it was about a year ago after the last online conference. And I think it's really a great a great opportunity to encounter, to discuss on different topics and to keep in touch with ICSA. So that was really a very good idea to start this virtual conference a year ago. And so we keep this on with the webinars. And of course, this year is also part of the webinar series. And you're welcome to attend the next ones. And I think we will announce this. And also others are involved here in our seminar group. This is Taisa, Matos, and Beatrice, and Bill, and Jan, of course. So this is a great team where we are working together. And in case you have ideas of for presentations, we of course welcome your suggestions.
All right. Thank you, Iris. You can see that even despite these hitches with the technology, and it would have been nice to have seen you live, but it's nice to see a picture of you, even that we managed to override those and keep the communication going. I wondered, Anna, if you would like to say something, because had it not been for events beyond our control, we would now be sitting in Lisbon having a conference at your place. And so I think it would be nice for you if you have the opportunity to say something about how you got into ICSA and how it contributes to your life.
Hi everyone, it's good to see all of you. Indeed, if it was not for events beyond our control, we would all be in Lisbon under a sweltering heat wave. In some parts of the country, the temperatures have gone up to nearly 40 degrees. Indeed, climate change is real. I'm not in Lisbon right now, I'm by the seaside. Still, I'm indoors, it's a little bit more tolerable. I got into ICSA in 2022 in a fresh but beautiful summer in Denmark at the conference at the Aldonicon. The Aldonicon is a place dedicated to anthroposophy, which is a current of thoughts that I find really fascinating and really inspiring. And Jan, we already had some conversations about it. I hope we will be able to continue that conversation soon in person. And well, you know, it was very inspiring. I was invited to be part of the council, and here I am. There were some obstacles on the way, but we're now on the way to organizing our conference next year at Lebensgarten, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm coordinating the academic program, and we're receiving proposals, and in November we'll start doing the work of setting up the program. That's mainly it.
Thank you.
And how it changed my life. It's widened my perception of intentional communities, and it helped to integrate many perspectives.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. I was wondering, I saw Beatrice is somewhere in here as well. And Beatrice, you've been involved with the webinars also. And I must say, I've had a lot of interest and pleasure working with you on these and organizing them. I wondered if you'd say a couple of words about how ICSA has changed your life.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And I'm really happy and grateful for being here in this celebration, joining you all. It's so important and special to me. I won't hide, ICSA has made a great impact in my life, yes, because we were in the middle of the pandemics in Brazil, investigating what was going on in ecovillages hit by that in there. And then there was this ICSA call for the Aldonicon conference with an interest in that exact topic. It was meant for me and Bruna and Rebecca to share our work with this great network of scholars that we only knew by reading and maybe watching a video here or a lecture, but also everything was online. And not only the scholars, the academics, but also the practitioners. In fact, the first book I read about ecovillages was written by Jan. And as soon as I stepped into the Aldonicon and I faced with him without, being prepared for that, I was so happy. So I'm really glad to be a part of this history now. It's very short still, but I hope it goes a long time forward, and together with this webinar team that I enjoy very much being part of, and also in the conference preparation with Anna, who's welcomed me in Lisbon to do some research together. So it has completely changed my life. And I also relate to one thing that was first said here by Deborah about this family and friendly environment, because at the conference, the Aldonicon conference, I brought along my husband to the post-conference tour as well, and he was very welcomed by everyone and integrated into this group of amazing people. So interesting, everything that we could see there. So I'm still amazed this is happening. And so thank you a lot, and I hope to see you soon this week again.
Right. Thank you, Beatrice. So we're going to wind the session up now with a little bit of information, because we have been looking at the past. And as a navigator and map reader in wilderness areas, I know that it's incredibly important to look back and see where you've come from, and then turn around and look to see where you're going again, where you're going to go on. And we've been looking back at our history, and now we have, in 2 days' time, another session here where we're going to be looking forward. And I wondered if Anton, you could say maybe a few words about that. And one of the things that we are changing now is our membership options. And I wondered if Anton could say a few words about that. And then if anybody has anything they really want to share or say, if they could write it into the chat. We have probably got about 5 minutes left now. So maybe Steve, do you want to talk about the membership, or should Anton talk about that?
Yeah, I'm happy to say a few words because we were a part of that. Yeah, so I mean, it seems like when we look back at ICSA, it was really these in-person gatherings every 3 years, and it just wasn't practical to connect that much in between. It was hard, but now the world has changed. And so as a community, it's not just the 3 years, but we get to gather regularly through the virtual conference, through the webinars, through different support networks, just through email or setting up Zoom meetings. And so one of the shifts that we imagine, instead of having a 3-year membership, which sort of covered the conference and then filled in the vast quietness of the years between, that now we're really a vibrant organization that is serving the community of scholars and practitioners on a month-to-month basis. We've seen that also with just the excellent newsletters that Anton has been putting together for us. And so as a split, as a part of that evolution, we've shifted to yearly dues. And those started, I think, actually, technically as of today, July 1st, if I remember correctly. We're shifting to that. But where you sign up for each year for all the robust programs that ICSA is applying. And that will be the process going forward. And another part of that evolution that we put together in the revised ICSA Constitution was this really communal leadership structure where we encourage everybody to get involved in different parts. And so we're a team of teams, a community putting together conferences and support for students and researchers and practitioners of community. So those are some of the evolutions that have been happening recently. And we look forward to seeing everybody in a couple of days to talk about the future of community.
Thank you. Anton, do you want to say anything about the technical side of membership to add to that?
Just in terms of you taking out membership, you can go through the website from the menu, join ICSA. If you have any problems, then drop me a line. I can help. If you need to do bank transfers, if you need to do help with PayPal, whatever it is, I can help you. People here can vouch for that I've helped them take out membership. It's worth your while.
Right, thank you. Michal, you wrote a short note about the next chair should be a woman. I totally agree, but I have a feeling we may not have a next chair. And I think Steve said it so well that we are now a team of teams. And there are many women on the different teams that we make up, some doing with the webinars. We had a team organizing this gathering today. We have a team of academics who will look at the presentations for the next conference. And I think the idea of us being led by a team of teams sounds to me very much like the kind of thing I would like to see in the kind of communities that I would be involved in. So it may be that this is Dan, you really were the last chair. And you should be happy and proud about that, because I think we've morphed into a better leadership structure, if you want to call it that. It's more like a coordinating group, really. And I'm glad that there are many women involved in that. I'm glad there's many men as well. In fact, I'm glad there's many people. I'm going to wind up the session.
John?
Yeah, please. Deborah?
I think that Albert Bates would like to say a few words.
Ah, I didn't catch that, but yeah, Albert, I would love to hear from you.
I'm here in the farm in Tennessee, and I just wanted to have a recollection and a celebration. My first encounter with ICSA was after the New Lanark conference in 1988. I was not at that one in Scotland, but there was a meeting in Yad Tabenkin and Kibbutz Gezer in the early 90s, and that was my opportunity to meet Jan Bang. So I celebrate the change that you made in my life, Jan. And also, I came back a couple years after that and stayed at Kibbutz Gezer. I met many people through the ICSA, Bill Metcalf and Jakob Ovid, who are here, but the many, and he introduced me to many more. He introduced me to Murad Al-Kufash, who is today my project manager for my organization there in Israel, and I'm talking to Murad every week. And, we have connections through the tours that we made to the south of Israel, to the various different green kibbutz that Jan showed me. And that sort of led to my participation more in the Communal Studies Association, which was then the historic Communal Studies Association in the United States and Canada. And it also led eventually to the creation of the Global Eco-Village Network in 1995. And I think as a director and officer in that organization, I brought into that much of what I had learned in the process of being part of ICSA. And so I think I would just say, you know, the tours and the conferences all were influenced by InGen, by the experience that we had together. And I think that last month I became a great-grandfather. And I think that organizations have progeny too. I would say that ICSA is one of the progenitors of the Global Eco-Village Network and the Eco-Village movement. And I think that ICSA probably has many different sorts of organizations that it has influenced over many years. And in that sense, I celebrate this year.
Thank you so much, Albert. It's all your fault that I'm here now. Thank you. A few words. We are having another session in 2 days' time. We'll be looking forward. We've gathered together many younger people who will talk about what they see ICSA becoming in the future. I urge you all to link in with us, Zoom with us, and if you know of anybody else who might be interested, invite them along too. So I want to thank you all for being here today. And before we sign off, there's a small group of us who have been organizing these two seminars, the one today and the one in 2 days' time. There are 4 or 5 of us. If we could stay behind just for 5 minutes, just to make sure that everything is okay for the next one. So on behalf of ICSA, on behalf of this organizing group, I thank you all for being with us today.